Crime and Punishment, Part 2, Subsection 4. Zazimov was a tall, fat man with a puffy, colorless, pale, clean-shaven face and straight blonde hair, wearing spectacles, and with a large gold ring on his fat, swollen finger. He was about 27 years old. He had on a loose, foppish summer coat and light-colored summer trousers. Generally, everything on him was loose, foppish, and brand new. His linen was impeccable, his watch chain massive. He was slow, almost languid of manner, and at the same time studiously casual. A certain pretentiousness, though carefully concealed, kept showing itself every moment. All who knew him found him a difficult man, but said that he knew his business. "I stopped twice at your place, brother." "See, he's come too," cried Razumikin. I see. So how are we feeling now, eh?" Zazimov addressed Raskolnikov, looking at him attentively and sitting by his feet on the sofa, where he immediately sprawled as well as he could. He's still sulking," Razumikin went on. "We just changed his shirt, and he almost started to cry. That's understandable. You might have waited with it. You might have waited with the shirt, if you didn't want. Pulse is fine. You still have a little headache, "I'm well. I'm completely well," Raskolnikov had said insistently and irritably, raising himself suddenly on the sofa and flashing his eyes. But he immediately fell back on the pillow and turned his face to the wall. Zazimov was watching him attentively. "Very good. Everything's as it ought to be," he said languidly. "Has he eaten anything?" They told him and asked what he was allowed to have. "Everything's allowed. Soup, tea, no mushrooms, naturally, or cucumbers. Well, and no need for any beef either. And, well, what's there to talk about?" He exchanged glances with Razumikin. "No more medicine, no more anything. And tomorrow we'll see. Today wouldn't be... well, yes. Tomorrow evening I'll take him for an outing," Razumikin decided. "To the Yusupov garden, and then we'll go to the Palais de Cristal." I wouldn't... Did you hear my attempt at French? It reads PALAIS space DE space CRISTAL. I wouldn't budge him tomorrow, though maybe a little. Well, we'll see. "Too bad I'm having a housewarming party tonight, just 2 steps away. He could come, too. At least he could lie on the sofa among us. And what about you?" Razumikin suddenly addressed Zazimov. "Don't forget, you promised. Maybe a little later. What are you planning to have?" "Nothing much. Tea, vodka, pickled herring. There'll be a pie. For friends only." "Who, precisely?" "They're all from around here, and most of them new friends, actually, except maybe the old uncle. Maybe for the old uncle. And even he's new. Came to Petersburg just yesterday on his little business on some little business of his. We see each other once in 5 years. What is he?" "He's vegetated all his life as a provincial postmaster. Gets some wretched pension, 65 years old, nothing to talk about. I love him, though. Porfiry Petrovitch will be there, the local police inspector in the Department of Investigation, a lawyer. But I think you know, he's also some sort of relative of yours? A very distant one. Well, why are you frowning? So you quarreled with him once, and now maybe you won't come." "I don't give a damn about him. So much the better. And then some students, a teacher, one functionary, one musician, an army officer, Zamyotov. Tell me, please, what you or he, for instance," Zazimov nodded towards Raskolnikov, "can possibly have in common with someone like Zamyotov." "Oh, these peevish ones. Principles! You've all got principles in you like springs. You don't dare turn around by your own will. No, in my opinion, if he's a good man, there's a principle for you, and I don't want to know any more. Zamyotov is a wonderful man, and he has an open palm. So what if he has an open palm? To hell with it. Who cares if he has an open palm?" Razumikin suddenly cried, getting somehow unnaturally irritated. "Did I praise him? Did I praise his open palm? I said he was a good man, only in his own way. And if we look straight, in all ways, will there be many good people left? No, in that case, I'm sure that I, with all my innards, would be worth about as much as one baked onion, and then only with you thrown in. That's enough. I'll give 2 for you." "What? That's enough. I'll give 2 for you. And I'll give only 1 for you. Look at this wit. Zamyotov is still a boy. I can rough him up because he ought to be drawn in and not pushed away. You won't set a person right by pushing him away, especially if he's a boy. You have to be twice as careful with a boy, eh? You progressive dimwits. You really don't understand anything. You disparage man and damage yourselves. And if you like You'd like to know we've even got something started together. I wonder what. It all has to do with the case of the painter, the house painter, I mean. We're going to get him off. However, it won't be any trouble now. The case is perfectly clear now. We'll just put on some more heat. What about his house painter? You mean I didn't tell you? Really? Ah, that's right. I only told you the beginning. It's about the murder of the old woman, the pawnbroker, the official's widow. So now this house painter is mixed up in it. I heard about the murder before you, and I'm even interested in the case, somewhat, for a certain reason, and I've read about it in the papers. So now they killed Lizaveta too. Nastasia suddenly blurted out, addressing Raskolnikov. She had been standing in the room all the while, pressed up against the door, next to the door, listening. Lizaveta? Raskolnikov muttered in a barely audible voice. Lizaveta, who sold things. She used to visit downstairs. She mended your shirts once. Raskolnikov turned to the wall, where, from among the little flowers on the dirty yellow wallpaper, he picked out one clumsy white flower with brown lines and began studying it. How many leaves it had, what sort of serrations the leaves had, and how many little lines. There was no feeling in his arms and legs, as if they were paralyzed, but he did not even try to move, and went on stubbornly staring at the flower. So what about the house painter? Zazimov interrupted Nastasia's babbling with some particular displeasure. She sighed and fell silent. They've also put him down as the murderer, Razumikin went on, with fervor. They must have evidence or something. The devil they have. Or no, they precisely do have evidence. Only this evidence is no evidence, and that's what has to be proved. It's just the same as when they first picked up and suspected those, what's their names, Koch and Prestiakov. Pah, what a stupid way to do things. It's disgusting, even for an outsider. Prestiakov may stop by my place today. Incidentally, Rodya, you know about the story. It happened just before your illness, exactly the day before you fainted in the office, while they were talking about it. Zazimov glanced curiously at Raskolnikov. He did not move. And you know what, Razumikin? You're a real busybody after all. Just look at you, Zazimov remarked. Maybe so, but we'll still get him off, Razumikin shouted, banging his fist on the table. But you know what irks me the most about it? Not that they're lying. Lying can always be forgiven. Lying is a fine thing because it leads to the truth. No, what irks me is that they lie and then worship their own lies. I respect Porfiry. But what, for instance, was the first thing that threw them off? The door was locked, and when they came back with the caretaker, it was unlocked. Well, so Koch and Pestryakov did the murder. That's their logic. Don't get so excited. They were simply detained. They couldn't just... Incidentally, I used to run into this Koch. So it turns out he bought unredeemed articles from the old woman, eh? Yeah, some sort of swindler. He also buys up promissory notes. A trafficker. Devil take him away. But this is what makes me so angry, do you understand? It's their routine that makes me angry, their decrepit, trite, inflexible routine. And here, just in this one case, it would be possible to open up a whole new way. From psychological facts alone, one could show how to get on the right track. We have facts, they say, but facts are not everything. At least half the game is knowing how to handle the facts. And you know how to handle the facts? But it's impossible to keep silent when you palpably feel, that you could help with the case, if only. Arrgh! Do you know the case in detail? I'm still waiting to hear about the house painter. Yes! Where was I? So I listened to the story. Exactly 3 days after the murder, in the morning, while they were still nursing Koch and Prestiakov long, though they had both accounted for every step, it was cryingly obvious. Suddenly, a most unexpected fact emerged. A certain peasant, Dushkin, the owner of a tavern across the street from the same house, came to the police with a jewelry case containing a pair of gold earrings and with a whole tale to go with it. The day before yesterday, in the evening, sometime after 8 or thereabout, the very day and hour, you see, a workman, this painter, Mikolai, who had stopped in earlier in the day, came running to me and brought me this box with gold earrings and little stones, and asked if he could pawn them for 2 rubles. And when I asked where he got them, he declared that he picked them up from the sidewalk. I didn't question him any more about it, this Dushkin speaking, but I got him out one little one, a ruble that is, because I thought it wasn't me. He'd pawned them to someone else, and it makes no difference. But because they'll drink it up anyway, and it's better if the thing stays with me. The deeper hidden, the closer to hand. And if something comes up, or there are any rumors, I can represent it at once. Well, of course, that's all his old Granny's dream. He's lying like a rug, because I know this Dushkin. He's a pawnbroker himself, and he receives stolen goods, and he flitched Filch a 30-ruble article from Nikolai with no intention of representing it. He simply got scared. But devil take it. Listen, Dushin goes on. And that peasant there, Nikolai Dementiev, I know him since childhood. He's from our province, the Zaraisk district, because I'm from Ryazan myself. And Nikolai's not a drunkard, but he does drink, and it was known to me that he was working at the house in that house there, painting, him and Mitri, the two of them being from the same parts. And when he got the ruble, he broke it straight off, drank 2 cups in a row, took the change, and left. And I didn't see Mitri with him that time. And the next day I heard that Alyona Ivanovna and her sister, Lizaveta, was killed with an axe, and I used to know them, sir, and I got to wondering about the earrings, because we knew the deceased used to lend money on things like that. I went to their house and started making inquiries, cautiously for myself, tiptoeing around. And first of all, I asked if Nikolai was there. And Mitri said Nikolai went on a spree, came home drunk at daybreak, stayed for about 10 minutes and left again. And Mitri didn't see him after that, and was finishing the job by himself. And their job is up the same stairway as the murder was, on the second floor. So I heard all about it, but I didn't say nothing to nobody. This is Dushin speaking. I just found out everything I could about the murder and went home again, still in the same doubts. And then this morning at 8 o'clock, 3 days later, you see, Nikolai comes in, sober, but not so drunk either. Not sober, but not so drunk either. Able to understand what's said to him. He sits down on the bench without a word, and beside him, right then, there was just one stranger in the tavern, and another man, an acquaintance, asleep on a bench, and our two lads, sir. Have you seen Mitri? I asked. No, I haven't, he says. You've been gone? Yes, he says, since 2 days ago. And where did you sleep last night? In Pesky, with the boys from Kolomna. So, I say, where did you get those earrings? Found them on the sidewalk. But the way he says it don't ring true, and he's not looking at me straight. And did you hear? I say. Thus, and so happened that same night, and that same hour, up the same stairway. No, I didn't. And he listens with his eyes popping out, and suddenly he goes white as chalk. I'm telling him, and he's reaching for his hat and starting to get up. Right then I wanted to keep him there, so I said, Wait, Nikolai, why don't you have a drink? And I winked to the lad to hold the door, and I was getting out from behind the counter when he up and bolted on me, out into the street, and ran down a back alley, and that's the last I saw of him. But I stopped doubting them, because the sin on him was clear enough. Sure enough, said Zazimov. Wait, listen to the rest. Naturally, they set out hot-foot after Nikolai. Dushkin was detained, a search was carried out, the same for Mitri. They also ransacked the boys from Kolomna. Then, all at once, 2 days ago, Nikolai himself was brought in. He had been detained near the ski gate at an inn. He'd gone in, taken off his cross, a silver one, and asked for a drink in exchange. They gave him one. A few minutes later, a woman went out to the cowshed and saw him through a crack in the wall of the adjoining shed. He tied his belt to a beam, made a noose, and was standing on a stump trying to put the noose around his neck. The woman screamed to high heaven. People came running. So that's what you're up to. Take me to such and such police station. I'll confess everything. He was presented with all due honors at such and such police station. Here, that is. And then this and that. Who and what? How old are you? 22, and so on, and so forth. Questions. When you and Mitri were working, did you see anyone on the stairs at such and such an hour? Answer. Sure, some people maybe passed by. Not so's we noticed. And did you hear anything, any noise or whatever? Nothing special. And was it known to you, Nikolai, that on such and such a day and hour the widow so-and-so was murdered and robbed, and her sister as well? No, sir, I knew nothing about that. I first heard it from Afnasy Pavlovich 3 days after, in the tavern. And where did you get the earrings? Found them on the sidewalk. Why didn't you come to work with Mitri the next day? Because I went on a spree. Where? In such and such. Why did you run away from Dushkin? Because then I got real scared. Scared of what? Having the law on me. Why would you be scared if you felt you weren't guilty of anything? Now, you may believe it or not, Zazimov, but this question was asked, and literally in those words, I know positively it was told to me accurately. How do you like that, eh? How do you like that? Well, no, all the same, there's evidence. But I'm not talking about the evidence now. I'm talking about the question, about how they understand their essence. Ah, the devil take it. Well, so they pushed him, pressed him, and so he confessed. I didn't find them on the sidewalk. I found them in the apartment there where Mitri and me was painting. How was that? It was just like this, that Mitri and me was painting all day till 8 o'clock, and was just about to go, and Mitri the bush and slapped some paint on my mug. So he slapped some paint on my mug and ran away, and I ran after him. So I was running after him, shouting my head off, and when I turned from the stairs to the gateway, I smacked into the caretaker and some gentlemen. And how many gentlemen it was, I don't remember, and the caretaker swore at me for that, and the other caretaker also swore at me. The caretaker's woman came out and swore at us too, and there was a gentleman coming in the gateway with a lady, and he also swore at us, because me and Mitka was lying there and blocking the way. I grabbed Mitka's hair and pulled him down, started punching him. And Mitka was under me and grabbed my hair and started punching me. And not because we was mad, it was all friendly, for the fun of it. And then Mitka got free and ran out to the street, and I ran after him, but I couldn't catch him, so I went back to the apartment myself because we had to tidy up. I started picking up and waiting for Mitri, in case he came back, and by the door to the entryway behind the wall, in the corner, I stepped on a box. I looked, and it was lying there wrapped up in paper. I took the paper off and saw these tiny little hooks, so I undid the hooks, and there was earrings inside the box. Behind the door? It was behind the door? Behind the door? Raskolnikov suddenly cried out, staring at Razumikin with dull, frightened eyes, and slowly raising himself on the sofa with the support of his arm. Yes, but why? What's the matter? Why are you looking like that? Razumikin also rose from his seat. Nothing, Raskolnikov answered, barely audible. Oh, it should be nothing, Raskolnikov answered, barely audible, sinking onto the pillow again, and again turning to the wall. Everyone was silent for a short while. He must have been dozing and suddenly woke up, Razumikin said at last, looking questioningly at Zozimov. The latter made a slight negative movement with his head. Well, go on, said Zozimov. What then? Oh, so what then? As soon as he saw the earrings, he immediately forgot about the apartment and Mitka, grabbed his hat and ran to Dushkin. And, as we know, got a ruble from him. Lied to him that he found them on the sidewalk and at once went on a spree. And about the murder, he keeps repeating the same thing. I never knew nothing about that. But first I heard about it 3 days after. And why did you not come before now? From fear. And why did you want to hang yourself? From thinking. Thinking what? That I'd have the law on me. Well, that's the whole story. Now what do you suppose they drew from it? What is there to suppose? There's a trace there. Something at least, a fact. You don't think they should let your painter go free? But they've put him right down as the murderer now. They don't even have any doubts. Nonsense. You're too excited. And what about the earrings? You must agree that if on that same day, an hour, the earring from the old woman's trunk got into Nikolai's hands, you must agree that got there somehow. That's no trifle in such investigations. Got there somehow, but how did it get there? Razumikin cried out. And can it be that you, a doctor, you, whose first duty is to study a man, and who have the opportunity before anyone else of studying human nature, can it be that you do not see from all these facts what sort of character this Nikolai is? Can you not see from the very first that everything he testified during the interrogation is the most sacred truth? They got into his hands exactly as he testified. He stepped on the box and picked it up. The most sacred truth? Nevertheless, he himself admitted that he lied at first. Listen to me. Listen carefully. The caretaker and Koch and Pestryakov and the other caretaker, the caretaker's wife, and the market woman who was sitting with her in the caretaker's room at the time, and the court councillor Kirkyov, who got out of the carriage that same moment and was coming through the gateway arm in arm with the lady, all meeting 8 or 10 witnesses, testified with one voice that Nikolai was holding Dmitri down, was lying on him and punching him, and that the other grabbed his hair and was also punching him. They were lying across the entrance, blocking the way. People swear at them from all sides, and they, like little children, as the witnesses literally said, are lying on each other, squealing, fighting, and laughing, each other louder than the other, with the most ridiculous faces, and then they run out to the street like children, chasing each other. Hear that? Now pay strict attention. The bodies upstairs are still warm. You hear, still warm. They were found that way. If they killed them, or just Nikolai alone, and broke into the trunk besides and robbed it, or merely took part in the robbery somehow, then allow me to ask you just one question. Does such a state of mind, that is, squeals, laughter, a childish fight under the gate, does it fit with axes, with blood, with criminal cunning, stealth, and robbery? They had only just killed them, only 5 or 10 minutes earlier. That's how it comes out. since the bodies are still warm. And suddenly, abandoning the bodies and the open apartment, and knowing that people have just gone up there and abandoning the loot, they go rolling on in the street like little children, laughing, attracting everybody's attention, and there are 10 unanimous witnesses to it? Strange, certainly. Impossible, in fact. But no buts, brother, because if the earrings, which on the day and hour turned up in Nikolai's hand, do constitute important factual evidence against him, directly explained, however, by his own testimony, and therefore still disputable evidence, we must also take into consideration certain exonerating facts, all the more so in that these facts are irrefutable. But do you think, seeing the nature of our jurisprudence, that they will or can accept such a fact, based solely on psychological impossibility alone, and on state of mind alone, as an irrefutable fact, demolishing all incriminating and material facts whatsoever? No, they won't. Not for anything, because they found the box, and the man wanted to hang himself, which would only be because he felt guilty. That's the capital question. That's why I get so excited. You must understand. Oh, I do see that you're excited. Wait, I forgot to ask. What proof is there that the box with the earrings indeed came from the old woman's trunk? It's been proved, Razumikin answered, frowning, as if with reluctance. Koch recognized the article and led them to the owner, and he proved positively that the article indeed belongs to him. That's bad. Now another thing. Did anyone see Nikolai during the time that Koch and Pesliakov were upstairs? And can it be proved somehow? That's just it. Nobody saw him, Razumikin answered with vexation. That's the worst of it. Even Koch and Pesliakov didn't notice them as they were going upstairs, though their testimony wouldn't mean much now. We saw the apartment was open, they say, that someone must have been working in it, but we didn't pay attention as we passed by. And we don't remember exactly whether the workers were there at the moment or not. So the defense they have is that they were punching each other and laughing. Granted, it's strong evidence, but then how, may I ask, do you explain the whole fact yourself? How do you explain the finding of the earrings, if he indeed found them as he testifies? How do I explain it? But what is there to explain? The thing is clear. At least the path the case should take is clear and established. And it's precisely the box that establishes it. The real murderer dropped the earrings. The murderer went upstairs when Koch and Pesliakov were knocking and had locked himself in. Like a fool, Koch went downstairs. Then the murderer jumped out and ran downstairs himself, since he had no other choice. On the stairs, he hid from Koch, Pesliakov, and the caretaker in an empty apartment at the precise moment when Dmitri and Nikolai had gone running out of it. Stood behind the door while the caretaker and the others were going upstairs, waited until their steps died away, then went down as calmly as you please, precisely at the same moment that Dmitri and Nikolai ran out to the street, and everyone left and there was no one in the gateway. Maybe someone saw him, but without paying any attention. There were enough people going by, and he dropped the box out of his pocket while he was still standing behind the door, and didn't notice that he dropped it because he had other things on his mind. But the box clearly proves that he was standing precisely there. That's the whole trick. Clever, brother. Really clever. Couldn't be cleverer. But why? Why? Because of timing. Because of the timing. The way it all falls together so nicely. Just like stage play. Ah! Razumikin began to shout. But at that moment, the door opened and a new person, unknown to anyone, walked in.